Hello friends, today I'll be reviewing the newest paddle from Bread & Butter, the Filth. So let's dive right in. The Bread & Butter Filth costs $165 and you can take 15% off this with the code JOHNQ. The Filth is offered in one shape that comes in three color varieties: white on white, black on tan, and black on black. The shape is an elongated design similar to the Carbon 1X, measuring 16.5 inches long by 7.375 inches wide. Thickness is 16 millimeters and the handle is 5.5 inches long with a 4.25 inch circumference. There's a gentle taper to the neck so you can easily overwrap the grip an additional 1/2 inch over the stock grip, making the effective handle length 6 inches. The static weight of this paddle is 8.0 ounces and the swing weight is 121, which puts it at the 71st percentile of all the paddles that have been tested for swing weight. In other words, the Filth swing weight measures higher than 71% of the paddles I've tested. If you're not familiar with swing weight, it's a measurement of how heavy the paddle feels when you're swinging it. So with the swing weight of 121, the Filth is going to feel like other paddles in this range, such as the Pickleball Apes Pro Line Energy, Diadem Edge 18K, Legacy Pro, and the Electrum Model E Elite. The twist weight of this paddle measures 6.2, which is right about the average for the paddles I've tested. Twist weight is a measurement of how heavy the paddle feels when you're twisting it along its long axis. Generally, the wider the paddle is, the higher the twist weight. Twist weight also correlates to the size of the sweet spot, or specifically the width of the sweet spot. More on that in a different video I'll post later. At 6.2, the twist weight of the Filth falls at the 52nd percentile ranking of the paddles I've tested, so it's higher than 52% of the paddles in my sample. A new metric that I've started gathering data on is balance point. It's a measurement that's commonly used in tennis, but so far hasn't been widely used in pickleball. I'll make a separate video to provide more details about this metric, so I'll just briefly introduce it here. The balance point indicates how weight is distributed throughout the length of the paddle. I'll use the same categories used in tennis to describe balance point. So we have head heavy, where the weight is distributed toward the head of the paddle. We also have head light, where the weight is distributed toward the handle. And we have equal balance, where weight is distributed evenly throughout. To measure balance point for my database of paddles, I used a device from Graffiti, which is the same company that makes the machine that measures both swing weight and twist weight. This device gives you the balance point on the paddle in centimeters, measuring up from the bottom of the handle. Then I converted this into a percentage of the overall length of the paddle to account for the fact that the same balance point measurement on two different paddles will be closer to the head on the shorter of the two paddles. I was able to define the ranges for head light, head heavy, and equal balance after looking at where this metric fell on over 50 paddles. Head light paddles are generally more maneuverable and less sluggish, translating into better hand speed. Head heavy paddles are generally more powerful with less hand speed and maneuverability. You can think about this intuitively by imagining a baseball bat. If you hold it in the normal way, it's hard to move back and forth very quickly. But if you hold it from the other end, so the thicker end, it becomes much easier to maneuver quickly. But you're never going to hit the ball out of the park by holding it backwards. The balance point for the Bread & Butter Filth is 57.48%, which is in the equal balance category. This matches my overall impression of the paddle after playing with it. It does feel well balanced and not too sluggish for an elongated paddle. So you might be asking yourself, isn't balance point the same thing as swing weight? They're definitely related, but they are separate metrics that can add more information about a paddle's performance when considered together. An example of how swing weight and balance point differ is that you can easily drop the balance point of a paddle by adding weight anywhere below that point. So along the bottom edges of the head, the neck, and the handle. But you can't drop the swing weight by adding weight to the bottom of the paddle. The best you can hope for is that the swing weight stays the same. Okay, let's move on to how this thing was built and its performance. The Filth was created in a hot mold using unibody construction. In other words, it's a thermoformed paddle, so it comes with all the benefits of Gen 2 paddles, such as increased power potential, a larger sweet spot, and its ability to withstand breakage along the neck is far superior to Gen 1 paddles due to a single carbon fiber seam attached along the entire perimeter of the paddle. The core is a standard 16 millimeter thick single sheet of honeycomb polypropylene. And the paddle face is raw carbon fiber, which is to say that it's a layer cake of unidirectional carbon fiber sheets embossed with a peel ply texture on the paddle surface to enhance spin. It's advertised as T700 carbon fiber. I would have preferred to see reference to the specific carbon fiber manufacturer, like Toray, for example, but I've been giving paddle companies a pass on this lately because I've heard from several people, including paddle companies themselves, that the factories that assemble paddles for the paddle companies are actually charging them for the premium carbon fiber, like Toray, but they're using generic carbon fiber instead. And there's no way for the paddle companies to verify the sourcing of the raw carbon fiber. So I think it'll be important moving forward for paddle companies to find ways to verify the source of their carbon fiber. Under a microscope, you can see that the surface texture is the more standard, rougher peel ply design. And this thing gets good spin. Average RPM from my tests came in at 1,865, which places this paddle in the high spin category. So how does the Filth measure up for power and pop? A quick review again of these metrics. Power is a measurement of the ball speed with a full swing of the paddle, like serves, drives, and overhead putaways. Pop, on the other hand, measures the speed of the ball using short paddle strokes, such as a punch volley and quick hand exchanges at the kitchen. Based on my maximum speed serve tests, the Filth has excellent power. Average serve speed measured 55.2 miles per hour, which places it near the top for USAP-approved paddles. The 5 paddles at the top of this list are all EVA foam paddles and are not USAP-approved because they're too powerful and fail deflection tests. The Filth is in the top 3 of all the legal paddles tested, nearly tying with the 6.0 Black Diamond Power model and the Pickleball Apes Pro Line Energy. For an elongated paddle, its pop is surprisingly high. You can see on this chart that the average drop punch volley speed for the Filth came in at 35.6 miles per hour, which is the 3rd highest in all the paddles I've tested, falling just under the ProKinetics Black Ace and the Selkirk Power Air. Let's turn to how everything comes together for gameplay. As the metrics suggest, this paddle packs a serious punch. Power and pop are top tier, so the Filth is great for an aggressive play style which prioritizes heavy serves, passing shots, speed ups, and putaways. The face of the paddle feels very crisp and lively, which explains the top tier measurements for pop. It can take a while to dial in your soft game with this paddle for sure. Pop-ups at the kitchen can be an issue if you're coming from a paddle with a more muted, forgiving style. You really have to soften your grip if you want to reset a speed up. I also found that as I was adjusting, I would go the opposite direction for fear of a pop-up and underhit the ball into the net. But speed ups are a breeze, and watch out for punch volleys with this thing. Any ball left up high at the kitchen doesn't have much of a chance of coming back, unless your name is Eddie and you get everything back. But in general, it takes far less effort to speed up or counter at the kitchen than with less poppy paddles. And I feel like the ball tends to sneak up on people with this paddle when it comes off the face of it. So you tend to get more mishits or pop-ups that can then be put away. Serves and drives from the baseline also feel great. The ball tends to go where I aim it with this paddle, and it feels easier to hit hard drives low over the net than with other paddles I played with. And the extra spin allows the ball to dip aggressively. You can also get great slice with the Filth and either float the ball in a line drive or curve it sideways depending on the angle of your slice. And for an elongated paddle, the maneuverability and hand speed is pretty good. As I mentioned earlier, the swing weight for the Filth is 121, which is about standard for elongated paddles, maybe a little on the lower end. But it does feel lighter than the swing weight suggests. Maybe it's because of the favorable balance point, which falls in the equal balance category. But I don't feel too sluggish in hand exchanges at the kitchen with this paddle. The spin is also good enough on this paddle to pull off flicks at the kitchen. So people see you speed up a ball from a low position and they usually let it go, but you can get enough spin on it with this paddle to shape it in. As I mentioned, the soft game does take some adjustment. You really have to soften your hands and use shorter strokes while dinking. That being said, I found myself playing more aggressive all around with this paddle because speeding up just seemed easier than slow and steady. The Bread and Butter Filth is a great choice for people who want a thermoformed paddle with a large sweet spot in an elongated shape that packs serious power and punch. So be prepared to put the ball away easier when there's an opportunity or to add some speed to your serves and drives. Spin is also good, so it can be used to your advantage to mitigate the power of the paddle by shaping balls in that would normally fly out. I definitely would not say that this is a control paddle, but it can be managed with some adjustments. I also really like the looks of this paddle. I've had it now a few months, and I remember when they sent it to me thinking that it was really nice to see a raw carbon fiber paddle that wasn't just all black with white letters. I think Bread and Butter paved the way for companies to get more creative with their design and graphics for raw carbon fiber paddles. The three lines, all in different colors, that form this stylized ampersand symbol create this really cool effect when the paddle's turning where the symbol actually comes in and out of focus. Other paddle companies have also done a good job in this regard lately and also get style points for raw carbon fiber paddle design like the Rainbow Double Black Diamond, Pickleball Apes Pro Line Energy, Diadem 18K, and Volair Forza. Also, Bread and Butter have done a phenomenal job with the packaging on their paddles. They come in this really nice box with high-quality graphics and some little extras like embossed beer koozies. There are a couple of unknowns for this paddle. So thermoformed paddles are more susceptible to core corruption than Gen 1 paddles, which has become commonly known as delamination. Typically, this is a result of too much heat and pressure during the thermoforming process, damaging the polypropylene core, resulting in it breaking down after a few weeks or a few months of play. The symptoms of core corruption are a crunching sound when you press into the paddle face, a hollow sound when hitting the ball, and a large jump in the paddle's power. Every company producing thermoformed paddles knows about this issue, and they're all working to fix the problem. I've played with the Filth on and off now for a few months, probably totaling about 4 weeks of continuous play, and there are no signs of core corruption. But I don't know exactly what Bread and Butter has done to address the issue and what their track record is with regard to this breakage. I don't have a lot of data to generalize, but I've yet to hear that anyone's Filth has broken. If core corruption is something that worries you, Bread and Butter does have a generous return policy. They have a 30-day love it or leave it policy where you can return it for a full refund, no questions asked, and a 6-month warranty for manufacturing defects. So I've really enjoyed this paddle, and I've found myself going back to it quite a bit. During the past few months, I would go back and forth between the Filth and the Rhombus R3 Pulsar, depending on how I was feeling that day. If I was feeling confident in my power game or just wanted to play more aggressively, I'd pick up the Filth. If, on the other hand, I was feeling the need for a more muted, control-oriented paddle to grind out long points, I'd go with the Pulsar. So the Bread and Butter Filth is an easy recommendation from me. It's a good paddle with good looks from a company run by good people that I'm happy to support. You can take 15% off this paddle, bringing it down to $140 with the code JohnQ. If you've made it this far into the video, then hopefully you like this kind of detailed breakdown and analysis of pickleball gear. If so, then do me a favor and click like and subscribe. And if you want to see a review of another elongated paddle that has a lot of power, but has a more muted plush feel, then check out this review of the Pickleball Apes Pro Line Energy.